Okay, I'm back. My sound should be working now. Yeah, I don't know what.
Okay, I
Yeah, it's working. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Um, but yeah, so for those of you who just came, I started out talking about basically. In fact, before we go to spoiler alert, um, I started out talking about this breaking news about a shooting in Brooklyn, and it's it's looking pretty dangerous because what happened is there's been shootings on in subways and on trains, but normally that's the product of a dispute, and one of the more people in the dispute has a gun, some shooting, boom. This appears to be something a lot worse, a lot more dangerous. So I'm gonna just be checking back, and maybe later on, if there's any breaking news, I'll interrupt this topic to bring some of that breaking news to you. But right now, it's really short on information, so I'm gonna go ahead with the show that we have. Thank you, Rodwell. Thank you, Rodwell. Thank you very much. Whew. Um, yeah. So, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Talking about the Will Smith, and the question is, why is this so? Why are people so captivated by this story? And I was thinking about that, and I it led me to Lost. And here's where the spoiler alert is. If you haven't seen Lost, if you're watching Lost, then this will be a spoiler alert for season three. Because the season three finale was one of the best finales of the entire series. But let me tell you why. Let me tell you why the season three was like one of the, especially the finale. So if you're not familiar with Lost, or you're not familiar with Lost, let me just brief recap. It's about a plane that crashes on a seemingly deserted island, and it's about the survivors that are stuck on this island. And come to find out, number one, it's not actually deserted, and there's something else on the island. In addition to, there's other people on the island. And every episode, what would happen in every episode is there would be uh, things happening on the island, and then you would get a flashback into the life of the person that was the focus of that episode. So when you get to the season three finale, they're talking about, and for those of you just joining, spoiler alert for Lost, because I'm just explaining about why people are so captivated with this Will Smith situation. Um, so you get to the season finale, and it's focused on the lead actor. He's a doctor, and he's like the leader on the island, and so you're getting flashes into his life off of the island, and you go through the episode, and there's somebody that had landed on the island, and she says, "Hey, I'm from Naomi sent me." Naomi happens to be the former fiance of one of the people that's on the island, and she's like, "I'm here to rescue you. My boat is off, off the coast, and but there's interference." So they're like, "Hey, we know where the interference is coming from. We'll take you to this tower. We'll take you to this place. Cut off this interference so that now you can contact your boat and we can get rescued." So as the episode progresses, they're going on this trek to get to the source of the interference so that they can finally get rescued. And it's interspersed with scenes, um, flashes from the lead character's life, Jack. And Jack, he's having drinking problems, and his life is in chaos off of the island. When you get to the end of the episode, they manage to cut off the antenna, and they contact the boat. She's able to contact the boat. She's like, "Hey, listen, can you hear me? Yes, there are people here. We're here. You can come and get us. Can you pinpoint my location?" So now everybody's cheering. They're all happy. Meanwhile, there was something else that needed to be done for that to happen. One of the There was another source of interference, and a couple of the other guys went to shut it down. And once they managed to shut it down, the communication came through, and it's um, correction. It was from Penny. So he goes. The woman who was on the island was Naomi. She said, "Penny, I'm Penny's boat." So the communication, the interference leaves, and then he gets a video communication from somebody, and it turns out that it's Penny. It's this woman that that she said, whose boat it is. And so he says, "Hey, Penny, oh wow." He's like, "Naomi's here, are you on the boat?" And Penny goes, "What boat?" He goes, "Your boat, Naomi. She said she's your boat is off the coast of the island and she's with you." She's like, "I don't know who Naomi is." That's that's right before he winds up dying. And so it hits you like that twist is just one of the things hit you. But that's not the only twist. Because right after that twist, it then goes back to the lead character off of the island, and it shows him meeting somebody. And the person he meets is somebody else who's off the island, who's on the island, and he tells them, "We have to go back to the island." So at that moment, you find out that not only is this twist that this woman isn't who she says she is, but you find out that the flashbacks that you've been seeing this entire episode are actually flash forwards, and he winds up getting off the island. That twist, the way it hit you was just boom, boom, and just because those scenes happen like right after each other. That's what happened with this Will Smith situation. This was such a twist. That's why people are so captivated by it. It's not, we didn't see this coming. There's some people we could have saw this coming from. Like if 50 Cent had jumped up on the stage, people like, okay, you shouldn't have pissed off 50. This was not something we saw coming from Will Smith. And the way it played out, the mystery around it, like, wait, why did he do it? Is the reason why people are just so captivated by this story, because of the twist, and now people trying to deconstruct it to figure out why. And there's all sorts of theories, whether Jada sent him, or whether he's just so emasculated that he feels that he needed to do something to prove himself. All kinds of theories, but this is what has people just gripped by this story. Because Will Smith is somebody that we've looked at for so long as being, and he's done a great job of crafting an image of being the nice guy. And so to see that twist of seeing the nice guy, now you see a different side of the nice guy. It's like, wow, this is something crazy. But the question is, where does this go now? Because now he's been banned. And there are some people who are saying the ban wasn't long enough. There are some who are saying the ban is too much. And I look at it as he's been banned by the Academy. The Academy has banned him from going to the Oscars. That may be a big deal to some. I don't think that's a big deal to him. And I don't really think it's even a big deal to the Academy. I think this is a cosmetic thing, which is cool. But it's something they had to do something because public perception shifted. They failed to do anything in the moment. They failed to do anything in the moment and remove him from the premises. They failed to make us take a stand there. So now they had to step up and do something to make it look as if, oh, we've got this under control. But you have people who are saying that, okay, it should have been longer. You've got some that are saying that, oh, no, this is too much. And I'm like, this isn't as big a deal as the worst part is what's happening to his career, because he's got deals in movies that were in the getting ready to be promoted. That's a way worse reaction in terms of, is Bad Boys 4 going to happen? I mean, and for that, there's a lot of people that like Bad Boys. There's a lot of people that were looking forward to seeing Bad Boys 4. So imagine they say, hey, we're going to do Bad Boys 4 without Will. Fortunately for him, Michael Bay says, hey, I'm looking forward to working with Will again. So he's got a lot of support from the industry. So I don't think he's actually going to be, I don't think he has anything to worry about, really. Right now, his biggest obstacle is public perception, because had this been just left to Hollywood, to the industry, to the Academy, to the Board of Governors, nothing would have happened. He would have gotten his, he got his award, got his standing ovation. Monday would have rolled around. They would have said, "Oh wow!" And the board, they were totally cool with not doing anything. They were totally cool with, like, okay, it's you shouldn't have done that, and just leaving it at that. But it was the public perception and the watching it happen over and over. Because how many times people viewed watching Chris Rock standing there with his hands behind his back and a smile on his face and getting, like, that visual really made people say, nah, you got to do something, because it made him look like a bully. And quite frankly, yeah, the that him doing that wasn't a cool thing to do, in my opinion. And like I said, he should have been removed at that moment, because what a lot of people don't talk about is how after that, he does the outbursts, keep my wife's name out your mouth. And then Chris Rock goes on, says, hey, yeah, we're giving out the award for best documentary. And then Chris Rock moves up to the front of the stage. Like, they actually make Chris Rock move further up to the front of the stage. So now when they come back from announcing who the nominees are, Chris Rock is standing feet away from Will Smith. Like, it's crazy. It's like, why did y'all make him move forward? Um, and it's okay. And PJ says, I'm glad Will didn't get his Oscar taken away. So somebody has actually called for that, and we're gonna get to that. Because yeah, like, I'm not saying that should have happened. I'm saying he should have been kicked out right then and there. Even if he still wins the Oscar that night, he should have, like, the punishment, like, well, you don't get to accept it because you wilded out right before the Oscar came. So you can come pick it up we'll mail it to you or something. But when Chris Rock has to move all the way to the front of the stage, so that now he's like just feet away from Will Smith, and then as Questlove and his guys are coming up to the stage to accept the award, Will stands up and he's dapping everybody up as they go. And it's like, wow, like, really? So yeah, a lot of the stuff that happened was just really, it showed that they didn't want to punish him. The Academy, so, like, I've seen some takes of, oh, they're out to get him. No, it's not. The Academy's not out to get him. The Academy had never been out to get him. The Academy had no problem with what he did. They're like, hey, it is what it is. And I have my theories on why the Academy had no problem. I've talked about it in some other videos. I won't rehash that there. But the question is, because in addition to Will Smith's ban, before the ban, he resigned. So he resigned from the Academy, and that means he can't vote for the Oscars. He doesn't get the pre-screen. So it doesn't. These are like bonuses, perks that he's denied, but he still has the ability to make movies, to make money. The question is how bad public perception has turned against him, to whether or not he's going to be making people are actually going to support him again. And listen, our memories are short, especially with stuff like this. the novelty, the immediacy of the issue will wear off, and people will be like, okay, it's over, it's done with, it's up one off the bridge. There is what Chris Rock is doing, because he's still been silent, and I think there's actually a strategic move on his part, because when he comes back and does comedy material about this, right now he has like the moral high ground. If he comes out too soon and too hard, then the public perception will shift against him. But if he waits for a while and then just comes out, and people will be like, oh, he'll be able to go as hard as he wants to on the comedy and still not look bad himself. But the what I'm hearing of, one of the things they're talking about is that Will is in rehab. I don't know if that's true. I've looked at the sources. Like the major media sources aren't actually confirming this. Will hasn't confirmed this. His camp hasn't confirmed this. And I don't personally think he needs rehab, because I don't think this was like the product of mental illness. I don't think this is any, drug use. I think this was because it could either be, people are thinking it's either mental illness, drug use, anxiety, or just a horrible relationship. And of those four things, maybe the horrible relationship is the most plausible. I don't even think it's that. I think this was, Will was showing out on purpose. But that's why I don't think he needs rehab. That doesn't necessarily mean he won't go to rehab, because right now what he could be doing is basically rehabbing his image. So he goes to a retreat and, says, oh, I needed to, get in touch, recenter myself. And, with a lot of what he does on social media, he's talking about self-improvement and motivation. So now he's got to, which is another thing. If you look at one of the videos that's circulating around right now, is an exchange between him and Jada in the house, and she just pulls out her phone, just starts filming him talking about oh yeah, our marriage counselor, she's so great. Will tell everyone how great she is, and he's like, don't just start filming me. Don't start filming me. Social media is my bread and butter, and it's like, okay. So if you're gonna call social media bread and butter because you're using it to give all these motivational speeches, it basically act like, in addition to being, a megastar in music, TV, movies, you're a self help guru, and this, like, such a public just display of bad behavior undermines your ability to say, hey, yeah, listen to me, I'm centered, and this is how you need to be. Of course, you can always spin it to saying, even after you go off the rails, even after you do something impulsive and maybe potentially self-destructive, you can come back from it. So that could be where he's at. But it's not a great look. So what he needs to do in terms of rehab is rehab his image. That's the rehab he needs, more so than any of the other types of things that that we have no evidence that he needs. We have no evidence that he's dealing with alcohol or drug use, or even any mental illness. But we definitely know his image is torn to shreds right now. He looks like garbage, and he needs to rehab his image. So if he's going to a retreat, I think that that's what he's doing. He'll go to a retreat and say, I had to recenter myself. I had to get in touch with my emotional base and find what darkness was in me, so that I could keep acting in love. Like, basically the kind of trite stuff he said in his Oscar speech. and listen, I'm saying it's trite stuff because I believe from him it'll be trite stuff, because after seeing what he did on Oscars night, it doesn't look like didn't look like the actions of somebody who truly was bothered, who truly cared. Like after he did it, after the outburst, like I said, he's out there dapping Questlove and everybody who comes up to the stage, and then he cries for the Oscar, but then afterwards he's just partying, and you've got him like he's doing the Heisman, there's like throwing the football, spiking the football, basically. So he didn't seem to be bothered by that one bit. The only time in my opinion, he pretended to be bothered was when he was accepting the Oscar, and I believe that was just him covering his bases with the Academy, which is why he apologized to the Academy. He didn't apologize to Chris. People will reference the apology on Instagram. We have no reason to believe to know that he even read that apology. One of his one of his publicist interns probably wrote that, and he hasn't read it to this day. Uh, but then the question is, the funny thing is, I'm looking at all of these takes that have come from these actors and other people in Hollywood. Judd Apatow, because Judd Apatow was one of the people that came out talking about how Will Smith could have killed Chris Rock, and he got eviscerated. Like people just came in and attacked him because they're like, wait a minute, like you still ain't saying nothing about James Franco. James Franco is accused by multiple women of doing some real creep nonsense. At first, he was denying it. Then finally, just after the after the avalanche of accusations came in, then he had to go rehab and take an in depth look at himself. And the funny thing is, I just remembered, like there was like an inside the actor studio type roundtable, and it was like Bryan Cranston, James Franco, Tom Hanks, and I believe this was about the time that these accusations were around, and somebody is talking about them, and they like they basically looked dead at James Franco, and like yeah, like this, yeah, there needs to be accountability, and the look on his face, he looks like he's like a deer in headlights. But like I said, Apatow was one of the people that's like you got nothing to say about your boy James Franco, but you got all this piety to jump in and opine about what needs to be done with Will Smith and how horrible Will Smith is and how much of a menace Will Smith is. It's like, dude, you need to look at your own circle. Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's interesting because Jim Carrey, there was a lot of people, and I think Jim Carrey is one of the reasons why the tide changed. Because if you look at what happened, there were a lot of people that were afraid to come out and say anything negative against Will. Like if you look at Oscar night, a lot of people are like that are asked, they're being asked about it after the awards, and they're tiptoeing around it, and they don't want to talk about it because they're scared. Will Smith is a powerful dude in Hollywood. They don't want to cross him. But then the next morning, Jim Carrey comes out, and Jim Carrey himself is a $20 million man, and he comes out and says, they're spineless cowards. Like he just lays into like all of the people in the audience. So basically, what you had was a power play right there. You had Jim Carrey knowing how powerful he is, saying, "Okay, I can, I can take this bullet because I have my own juice in Hollywood." But he did something else because in subsequent interviews, he talks about how and I didn't realize that this was connected immediately. But then when I thought about it, I said, "Wow, that was all of what he did was connected." Because in later interviews, because he's got Sonic 2 out right now, and he starts talking about how he says, "Yeah, because at some point we have to realize that we have enough." Like, and he says, and I'm at that point. I have enough. Like, I don't need more. I've got everything I need. I don't need to. Like, I might, like, I'm at the point where I might just not even act anymore. Like not even do anything else. Like I don't need to do anything else. Basically, what Jim Carrey was doing was was hedging his bets. Like even if this power struggle, even if he's on the wrong end of the power struggle, he's letting them know, like I don't care. I got nothing to lose. Which was like, wow. So he basically threw down the gauntlet and says, and like you can't try to come after me for going after like for roasting Hollywood and Will Smith. And then add to that Sonic has done huge numbers. So right now he actually was in a power position to make such a play. But that's what I believe started the avalanche of people actually being able to feel safe to come out and criticize Will Smith. Funny thing is, then you have people like Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin actually came out and says, "Oh, he made Oscars look like Jerry Springer." Alec Baldwin is the dude that, and I had actually recorded it. So I had recorded a video for my short, but it was too long, and so I was like, never mind. But in it, I was talking about how Alec Baldwin he had called his daughter, his 11-year-old daughter, like I think like a thoughtless pig. This is Alec Baldwin. And like yeah, he left a message on the answering machine calling his 11-year-old daughter a thoughtless pig. He's had multiple incidents where he's beating up paparazzi on New York streets. And it's like, wait a minute, what made you think? What made you think that you were in a position to then come out and say, like, to have the moral high ground against Will Smith when you're doing all this stuff and like you're like no consequences, none. Because it's not even like he's like, okay, I've done these things and then I face these consequences. It's like you've done all this stuff, you have no consequences, but then you want to stand here and throw these stones at Will Smith and say, yeah, he like there needs to be accountability. It's like, wow, that's kind of interesting. But there's one story that really I really wanted to talk about. One person in particular. Um, this guy, when this guy came out and said something, he came back on like Sunday. It was revealed, and he didn't even come out. He actually wrote an op-ed. The guy's name is Harry Lennox, actor. If you He was from Five Heartbeats. He was also in Man of Steel. Basically, he was going to be Martian Manhunter. Um, the Blacklist. And so he wrote an op-ed, an article, um, talking about what that he feels, and he said a lot of the things I said about the punishment that Will Smith had is it's nothing, and I get it, it isn't. I'm not saying that no they need to do more. I'm just saying, hey, let's keep it in perspective. Being kept out of the Oscar ceremonies and being kept out of uh, and leaving out the Academy, that's negligible. It's just Kenny. Hey, Kenny. Late watching all the updates on the subway. Yeah, I'm gonna touch back into that because like I was like it happened like right before the stream, and so I touched on it a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna see in a little bit what updates there are, and we could. Yes, yes, and he deserved every minute of it. He deserved every minute of it. Um, but yeah, so one of the things he's saying is that there needs to be more accountability for Will, and so what he's calling is not only do they need to banning Will Smith wasn't enough. He says it's a toothless penalty that lays bare the shallowness of Hollywood morals. Now, listen, if you want to talk about the shallowness of Hollywood's morals, there's a bunch of other stuff you could be looking at too. There's a bunch of other stuff because like this really shouldn't be the hill to die on. Um, wow, wow, that's crazy. Okay, um, like this really shouldn't be the hill to die on in terms of critiquing Hollywood's morals. Um, so he says, at this point, the only person who can redeem the integrity of the Oscars is Smith himself. Now, let me tell you why that's just so ridiculous. That's so ridiculous for a bunch of reasons. One of the reasons why it's so ridiculous is because that is to claim that the Oscars, that Hollywood had integrity before Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And I think there's a really good thing that has come from all of this. Because of all of this discussion around this, um, from all the discussion around this, people have been taking a closer look at Hollywood's history. And they talk about, Harvey Weinstein, just an absolutely despicable piece of garbage. They talked about Bill Cosby. And then they talked about, and not only did they talk about it, but they actually showed us the footage. I've actually, they've replayed the footage and posted it on social media of when Roman Polanski won his Oscar. And this is after Roman Polanski has been convicted of the crime he was convicted for and fled the country to escape capture. He gets nominated for an Oscar, wins the Oscar, is a fugitive from the law, so he can't come to the United States to accept the Oscar. Harrison Ford accepts the Oscar on his behalf, and the crowd gives him a standing ovation. The integrity of the Oscars, of the Academy Awards, the integrity of Hollywood. What integrity? They have no integrity. They've had no integrity for years. In fact, the question is, have they ever had integrity? If we look at the history of Hollywood, we look at all of the stuff that's coming out with the Me Too stuff. This stuff has been standard operating procedure on how they're blackmailing young actresses, like either you want a career, like you either have sex with somebody you don't want to have sex with, or you have no career. And so the question is, like, how many? What gets me at that is how many young actors, how many talented actors have we never seen because they said, no, I'm not doing it. How much talent have we not seen because these women said, no, go screw yourself. Like, no, I'm not doing it. That's what's crazy. So when he talks about the integrity of the Oscars, that is beyond absurd. And to say that that somehow Will Smith deprived the Oscars of the integrity, it's insane. And so he says that Will Smith needs to mail the Oscars back and tell them that out of respect, this is what Harry Lennox is saying. Will Smith needs to say something like, out of respect for the 94 years of honor conferred upon this award, I do not in good conscience feel worthy of being its custodian. 94 years of honor. 94 years of honor. Like that, the ridiculousness of him saying that, the absurdity of him claiming that there's any honor attached to that award. Like if there ever was, how you can still maintain that after Harvey Weinstein, after Cosby, after Roman Polanski. Because listen, Roman Polanski was convicted way before they gave him the Oscar and then nominated him and then gave him the Oscar. Way before, he's guilty already, been guilty. So it's not even a matter of, oh well, we didn't know at the time when we gave him an Oscar. That wasn't even an issue. Harvey Weinstein was like an open secret. All these people like, oh well, that's Harvey. What? And now, mind you, I also wanted to point out something. Harvey Weinstein wasn't only big in Hollywood. Look at all look at all the photographs between these political figures that had no problem with Harvey Weinstein and was all up close with him, cozy with him too. Like these are things we need to think about. But this article, so he continues to criticize Will. He criticizes Will's speech, which yeah, Will's speech was pompous, ridiculous, you know, and self-serving. But like this article that he wrote is also like, what made you think that what inspired you to think that anybody is going to believe or buy that Hollywood is deserving of honor, or like there's no reason to. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Uh, he says the incident was a jolt to societal norms that will gnaw away at our national conscience until somehow properly atoned for. This is what Harry Lennox said. This will gnaw away at the national conscience. Not not the serial predators that have already received the awards. Not them. Not the serial predators that not only have received awards, but that have been at work in Hollywood for years, that have been enabled in Hollywood for years, for decades, that were covered for in Hollywood for decades. Not them. That's not going to gnaw away at the conscience. Will Smith smacking a dude is going to gnaw away at the national conscience. All that predatory nonsense, that's not a problem. Okay, let me look at some of these comments. Yeah, like, and so this is what I was talking about, PJ. I was talking about this story because this dude um, is wrote this stupid story, and people dragged him on Twitter, and they needed to, like Kenny said, he needed to get, like, he got dragged, and he deserved every minute of it, every single minute of it. He deserved it. Um, from the ladies from Real, yeah, yeah, yep. They stood for Roman Polanski, gave him and yeah, and the girl, 14 years old, 14 years old. And this is the guy that they stood up for, and not Will Smith. I'm talking about Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski. This is the guy that they stood up for. The cat, yeah, yeah. This has been standing operating procedure in Hollywood of basically holding women's careers in your hand, unless they like it's crazy, man. Yeah, yeah. People on Twitter saying this was behavior. Like, yeah, he was. I don't know who he was trying. Like, he was clearly trying to impress somebody. Like, he was like, and so they was like, this was serious tap dancing on his part. Like, you're trying to gain their favor. Like almost as if he was trying to say, I'm still one of the good ones. And it's like, dude, you need to shut the hell up. You need to shut the hell up, because what you're saying doesn't even have a basis in reality. It doesn't even have a basis in reality. Um, and he says, um, he says, yeah, he says, oh, look how quickly he accepted his punishment for the 10-year ban. Because yeah, Will knew it's not about nothing. But once again, I'm not advocating for him to lose his Oscar. But he says, given the coarseness of pop culture in the age of social media, it was no surprise that much of this year's Oscars proceeding were frequently profane. But it's an insult to the honor of God to assign him any part of the tawdry episode. Like, it's ridiculous what he's trying to do here. And so he finishes out the thing. The stain on the Motion Picture Academy cannot be easily remediated. The only hope for justifiable grace must involve Smith voluntarily returning his award for Best Actor. Harry Lennox needs to shut the hell up. And no, here's the thing. I'm wrong. Harry Lennox does not need to shut the hell up. He does not. I'm 1,000% wrong. Harry Lennox does not need to shut the hell up. Harry Lennox needs to speak the hell up. Harry Lennox needs to speak the hell up about Harvey Weinstein. Harry Lennox needs to speak the hell up about the people that enabled Harvey Weinstein. He needs to speak the hell up about the other Harvey Weinsteins that remain in Hollywood. He needs to speak the hell up about the other people that are doing the casting couch thing. Because as you're hearing stories, like it's not just happening to women either. Like you hear about what happened with Terry Crews. It's like, okay, so these even dudes were being put on this situation. There needs to be accountability. So since Harry Lennox has taken it upon himself to fight for the integrity of Hollywood, then he needs to fight for the integrity of Hollywood. He needs to be speaking out about these scumbags who are in Hollywood, who are engaging in this casting couch nonsense and dangling roles and jobs in exchange for sexual favors. That's what he needs to be speaking up on. He needs to be speaking up about all the people that knew what Harvey Weinstein was up to, that covered it up, that swept things under the rug, that facilitated it. That's what he needs to be speaking up on. Since Harry Lennox decided that he was going to fight and defend the integrity of Hollywood, then he needs to go ahead and defend the integrity of Hollywood and expose all of these scumbags. Because you've got a bunch of scumbags that are doing all kinds of ridiculous, just disgusting stuff, like whether it's related to the movies, like the behavior that they exhibit outside. Because we've already talked about, your like how Apatow was quiet about James Franco. We talked about what a scumbag, the scumbag stuff that, and we, with Alec Baldwin, somehow I talked about him beating up beating up paparazzi, just berating and berating his 11-year-old daughter, and I missed him killing a woman. Like, dude, like what? You killed the woman. Like, you need to shut the hell up. But like all of this kind of stuff is the stuff that, since Harry Lennox has decided that he wants to focus on the integrity of Hollywood, this is the stuff that Harry Lennox needs to be talking about. This is the stuff that Harry Lennox needs to be speaking up on, since he wants to. Okay, let me get rid of this. Hold on. Yeah, this is the stuff that that he needs to be speaking up on. People on Twitter were saying this. Yeah, the stain. Yeah. Now it's only when black folks mess up when we need to remove the stain. Yeah, it's like where's this activity? Where's this need to defend the integrity and speak on the honor of Hollywood in this prestigious award? And it's funny, prestigious, because I was listening to Professor Black Thought, and he broke down that word prestige. I was like, wow, that was a really good, because he was talking about this Will, the Killing Part is still new. Yeah. Um, he was talking about this whole Will Smith thing, and he's talking about the prestige of the Academy Awards, the prestige of the Oscars, and he broke down how basically the roots of the word, um, the etymology gets you to being it's an illusion. And he mentioned that movie, The Prestige, with Christian Bale, the magician thing, and Hugh Jackman. And I'm like, wow, that's like his breakdown on that was really good, because he talked about how all of this prestige around the Academy Awards, all of this prestige around the Oscars, around the Academy itself, it's just that it's an illusion. They created an illusion of importance, an illusion of honor, an illusion of dignity. Like there's not, like if you look at the behavior that is rife within this industry, like those things, those aren't even factors in this industry. Honor, integrity, like no, those aren't even factors. Like and it's not even about talent, because like I said, they use this casting couch to determine who's getting jobs, who's getting roles. So some of the most talented actors and actresses out there we've never seen, because they didn't want to they didn't play ball. And so like it's like it's not even a meritocracy. It's not even. There's so much nonsense happening behind the scenes. And this politics of who's willing to go the furthest to prove themselves. Like this is a disgusting industry. And so that's what I'm saying, is there's actually a benefit of this. This these incidents actually acted as a benefit to help us realize, wait a minute, Hollywood is just disgusting. And I'm like, okay, at what point do we realize, wait a minute, with all this, why do we need Hollywood? We don't. You see, Hollywood has a lot of money. They make these movies that entertain and distract us. Aside from the fact that distractions may not be what we need, and may not actually be in our best interest, right? Aside from that fact, the fact is, like with today's technology, we don't even, like we're seeing some of the most talented people um, display their abilities on social media. Like you've got, like I've seen some of the some amazing comedians, people that do skits, people that make music, whatever. They've displayed it on social media, and it's like, wow, we don't even need Hollywood, because like we actually can bypass Hollywood at this point. Like, and that's what we need to do, because I mean, really, it's absolutely filthy. These aren't great people. These aren't like pinnacles of these people aren't like the heights of humanity. They're no, these a lot of these people are just some real absolute degenerate scumbags. And not, I'm not even saying degenerate in however they choose to live their lives personally. I'm saying in degeneracy in terms of how they choose to treat others, and how they use their power to take advantage of others and exploit others. That's the problem. And so like this is actually an opportunity for a wake up call. I mean, the question is, will we take it though? I mean, because people were were quick to point out all of this stuff that Hollywood has done to compare it to what Will did isn't so bad. But at what point do we say, wait a minute, you're right, yeah, there is a lot of scumbags. Like, why am I supporting these scumbags at all? I say it's a question that we need to be really thinking about. That's why it's called acting. Yeah. The entertainment world is disgusting altogether. Look at the stuff's happened over on Nickelodeon and Disney and Child. Oh yeah, and because the stories, the horror stories from child actors throughout the years, the horror stories from child actors throughout the years is just absolutely, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Like at some point, I'm like, yeah, we really have to be like something like we can't continue to just like right. So as bad as we could say, some of these other people who are enabling them, at what point do we say, okay, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we're done. We're not going to continue supporting this nonsense. We're not going to continue uh, saying nothing while all of this horrible stuff happens. Like at some point, that I really think that's where we need to get to. Um, so actually, I'm going back. I'm just taking a look at some of the details with the shooting fact. So let me take this off. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the details with the shooting. So for those of you who don't know, there was a shooting in the subway station in New York, and so there's been shootings in subway stations in New York and on train stations, on train platforms. Usually, what happens is that's the product of arguments that break out, and one person has a gun. This was something different. This was an attack. They're saying that the guy who did it had a like an orange like construction vest and a gas mask on. They say he had canisters of like smoke grenades apparently, and he was throwing that around. And then they said he fired into the train just like randomly. So I saw some of the footage I saw was of people, and it was like, and that's why I can't. I gotta be careful. I can't just put this up on because I saw footage actually on Twitter of people on the platform, and there's a lot of blood. There's a lot of blood on the platform, um, and when the camera actually pans inside the subway car, and there's blood inside of the subway car, and so this happens in rush hour, and rush hour in New York is just packed. Like when you and this is even throughout the pandemic, it was like this. So now that it's things are like calmed down somewhat, um, when you're dealing with rush hour in New York City on the subway, ultimately, often what happens is you'll have people packed so tightly packed on a train that everybody is just squished up against each other. Like there's people, all the seats are filled. Everybody's sitting crushed up together, and everybody's standing up. It's just packed together. Just everybody's just all like sardines in a can. That shooting into a car like that is just like, yeah, like because at that point you don't even have anywhere to go. Like you can't even people can't even run at that point. And from what they said is he shot into the train car as the train doors were closing. So that means that people got shot. The doors closed. Apparently, the train took off, which I think is a good thing. Like if somebody's shooting a train, get out of there. Get these people out of there as soon as opposed to just staying there and keeping people in harm's way. Um, but if these people are now just stuck on inside this train, some people bleeding, some people, you know, injured, it's like this is a really bad situation. And so from the reports that are out now, five people shot, um, 16 injured at least. Um, So yeah, so if you like I said, if with people crammed up all on each other, the reason why there could be more people injured than shot is like once people start running, it's gonna be pandemonium. You know, people are like as soon as the doors open, people are gonna be rushing to get out there. People are scared. Um, no doubt. I'm willing to guess a lot of people got trampled in the panic because that's a scary situation. But it's been a that's been something that's been something I've noticed that could happen in the subway station. I've I've noticed that for decades. Because even in Japan, there was some attacks back in the '90s, something like that. But like I've known it could happen in New York City subways so easily. After 9/11, there was clearly some heightened, worry about that. But as time went on, people were like, okay, I think we're out of the woods. Apparently, and the last I checked, they hadn't caught the dude yet. So that in itself is something that's rather concerning. Um, Kenny, yeah, it's just really crazy. Absolutely. Um, okay, so 36th Street. Okay, so yeah, now where this is in Brooklyn, it's by Sunset Park, and it's not too far from the federal prison. Federal prison, the federal detention center, because there's two in New York, one in Brooklyn, one in Manhattan. Actually, yeah, the MCC shut down, so yeah, it's the last one, and it's not too far from there. The Right now reports 8 people shot. Okay, wow, wow. People who don't understand how this affects the other subway lines, it goes, oh yeah, it's like I'm really surprised they didn't basically lock down the system because at this point, once something like that happens, especially something that is so clearly, an attack. So, like, if this had happened, if this had happened in proximity to 9/11, easily everything would have been shut down. Everything would have been shut down because, like, they would have just been on high alert because they got to wonder if this is a lone attacker or if there's going to be other attacks at other locations. Especially now, like there should be some concern, especially considering that if he hasn't been caught yet, because I know when I started the stream, he hadn't yet been caught. So that should definitely be a thing of concern. But hey, the I guess that's with having cameras everywhere, they might have some idea of where this person is. Um, yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. I'm definitely looking at that. I don't know what his motivation. I don't know if he's a. I don't know if this is a guy that's just um, hates the world, or if he has a specific ideology that he is advancing. But either way, it's a scary thing, especially um, if you're out, if you're like right now, you got to be wondering if you're already at work and you're thinking about the rush hour ride home, you got to be worried, definitely. Um, yeah, so they're actually having a press conference right now. Um, yeah, and yeah, there's a lot. This is looking pretty bad. Okay, so thing I didn't mention, there were unexploded devices left behind, which is yeah. The description is blackmail, 5'5" with a bright yellow construction jacket. Whoa, okay, bright yellow. Okay, yellow, not orange. Okay, Wow. Yeah, there's. I mean, the police presence is just is in, yeah. I mean, as there would be, as there should be, considering this type of a situation. Um, so I don't have a lot of information about this right now. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do, what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is go watch some of this footage, and I'll probably, do an update a little bit later on. But because I do want to find out exactly what's going on. In fact, let me see something. Let me see. Because yeah, this is like finding this guy. It's got to be something that people are have got to be, because you don't know if this guy's going to do something else. Um, because apparently he's prepared for this. Apparently, this guy was prepared for what he did. Um, okay, so what I'm hearing right now is the governor Kathy Hochul. She's giving um, what sounds like a. I really hate these people because this sounds like some political nonsense, a political speech she's giving. Uh, okay, yeah. So but she's acknowledging the why the train left the station, because yeah. So okay, there's a and it actually reminds me of a situation that had happened some years ago, and it's what the city actually started telling people about using the emergency brakes in the trains. So if you're not familiar with the New York City train station, normally trains have about 10 cars to them. Bunch of people fit on them, and there's on each car they tend to have emergency brakes on each end. And so what the emergency brakes is to stop the train from moving. Um, some years ago, there was I think somebody was being stabbed. So somebody was being stabbed on the train in between the stations. So the doors are closed, the train is in motion. A guy stabs somebody, and somebody on the train pulls the emergency brakes. That was not what they were supposed to do. Here's why: because pulling the emergency brakes at that moment now traps everybody in the car with that person with the knife. The emergency brake is for if somebody's getting dragged by the train or something like that. Like if the train is going, somebody's stuck in the door, hit the emergency brake. If there's like an emergency, like you don't want the train to stop, you want the train to keep moving. So, like, if it's in between straight stations, you can get to the next station, people can run out. What the appears what the train, the motorman and conductor did in this case is they closed the doors quickly, and then they hurry up and got out of the station. They hurried up and hightailed it out there, because leaving the train there, letting the train stay there, would have had more people getting shot, hurt, possibly killed. So they needed to hurry up and get everybody out of the station as quickly as possible. They hurry up, closed the door, and went to the next station, which I think they're going to find out probably saved lives. Um, so yeah, so Kathy Hochul spoken. Um, Now you're not going to see in the footage that they have today. We're not going to be seeing anything from, well, not directly, not in these press conferences in the street. You won't be seeing from Eric Adams, because Eric Adams is currently in quarantine. He tested positive for COVID, so he's got to quarantine from everybody. Yes, Colin Ferguson. So Colin Ferguson was the closest thing we've seen to this. But he didn't do it in the MTA. He didn't do it in the New York City subway. He went to Long Island, and he hit the Long Island Railroad. And so he went on the train car, and I think it was like in between. He just started shooting people on that train car. And yeah, I feel like this was from back then. Something tells me when the guy's caught, he'll came crazy, and there will be folks claiming. Listen, with it being a black suspect, they're already going to be claiming it's BLM. It's. I already see it. Um, but so the thing about Colin Ferguson is Colin Ferguson was out of his mind. He represented himself at trial. What wasn't see as bad as an idea as it is to represent yourself at trial, and there's several reasons. I'll tell you a couple of them. Several reasons why it's a bad idea to represent yourself at trial. One of them being if you're not an attorney, like this is, you might want somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Um, Generally speaking, there are occasions when um, there's a benefit to it. But generally speaking, if you're not an attorney, like yeah, like why, like that's like it's my surgeon's gonna do. My surgeon wants to operate on me, but I'll do it myself. Um, it's not quite that extreme, but it is a. You do need to have some knowledge in order to successfully defend yourself. The other aspect of it is even if you're an attorney, even if you know what you're doing, even if you have the skill, the legal knowledge, when you are the defendant, representing yourself puts you in this position where you now have to fight not just the case, you have to fight your own emotional connection to the case because this is your life. You're now fighting for your life, your freedom, and now you have to overcome your own emotional and your very high emotions which are connected to this, and that is going to impact your ability to successfully defend yourself, because one of the aspects that will happen is there are things like, if you ever seen and maybe you've seen court TV, or maybe you've seen real live court cases, or maybe you've just seen it on TV. But like when they say something that personally hits the defendant, and that person gets real emotional, and they make an outburst, and the judge tells them sit down. Like if you getting that level of emotional connection, if you're the actual person trying the case, can wreck the case. You can miss so much because you're getting emotional. Like if a witness is saying something about you, um, you can start focusing on the wrong things instead of focusing on, okay, let's deal with the facts of the case and what I'm trying to accomplish with this defense. So with his defense, he actually was cross-examining witnesses and everything. And one of the things he would do was say, "Did you see the man who did it?" And they were like, "Yes, it's you. I saw you. You're the one that shot." I believe that was one of the people, because there was a woman there, and her husband and her son, I think, were both killed. And like, yeah, so people would understand, like, yes, I saw who did it. It was you. You shot me, or you shot the people, the person next to me. I saw you walking down the 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 aisles of the train shooting people. I saw you, and he would get agitated by that. He was already off and unstable, but he tried to use this ridiculous defense that just went nowhere, and he got convicted. Like, yeah, I don't think he's ever getting out. But this situation does I think this situation sounds a little bit worse than that and feels a little bit worse than that, even though it so far I don't think there's any fatalities because of the devices. So now okay, two things: the devices and the fact that this person is still out there. That's what's really crazy. The unexploded devices and the fact that this person is out there is like, wow, this is this situation is this is definitely something to worry about. Of course, you already know politics will be part of it. Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Absolutely. Rodwell. McCarthy. Yeah. Yeah. She became a congresswoman after that. Yeah. Yeah. Like gun control was one of her biggest platforms. And I've already heard it in Kathy Hochul's speech. Kathy Hochul was just speaking and she was talking about how, we need to stop this and like no, this is something different from what else is happening in the city. Yeah, we've got robberies and gang violence. This is something different. Um, okay, so yeah, I'm about to get to that. That was that. This is it's a crazy day in New York politics. I mean, in New York. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. So yeah, Colin Firth and Joe Rifkin. I remember the serial killer. Yeah, I didn't know they had a prison fight with each other. Wow. And so yes, Hochul's lieutenant governor Brian Benjamin got arrested today, and he's been indicted for like his people are saying, oh yes, he's not the target of this. The it's like wait a minute, like if he's not the target, he wouldn't like not only would he not be in cuffs, he wouldn't be indicted. But they say, oh yes, like we're sure this will be all be cleared up shortly. Like nah, he's been indicted. Um, sounds pretty much like he's the target. Um, yeah, yeah. There's okay. So look, yeah. So now there's, in fact, yeah. There's footage of, yeah. So he threw a smoke canister into the train car before he started shooting. Um, and so 10 people total shot. They're saying 10 people total have been shot. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's been a crazy it's been a crazy morning. State Democratic convention was a coronation too. They celebrated. Yeah, it's crazy. New York politics is so filthy. But no, come on. Yeah, yeah. Schools are in lockdown. Yeah, everything's like this. The area is just cops everywhere, and yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they're still looking for this dude. Um, obviously, and they should be because this is a crazy situation. This is a really crazy situation. Um, um, yeah, people were. Yeah, 10 people shot. So far, it seems like there's no deaths, which is a really good thing. Um, they said somebody was in critical but in stable condition. Yeah, so the NYPD and FBI are coordinating together. This is yeah. So he had a gas mask on. Oh wow. Okay, so and they right, they're not calling this, so they're not calling this a terrorist attack at this point, but it's definitely an attack. It's definitely an attack. It's definitely planned. It's definitely premeditated. The dude had a gas mask, smoke devices, shooting at people, and what they're not saying is it. They're not saying they're not saying if he was alone, um, or if they believe he was working alone, or if he had any help. Um, yeah, yeah. So like Homeland Security, FBI, everybody is involved because this is yeah. So they're talking about how prepared he was, and that's what has them so concerned. Um, because yeah, this isn't just some random person deciding, getting into an argument, and then just start shooting indiscriminately. This is somebody who came with a plan, with an idea to cause harm, a lot of harm, and he picked. Like I said, the New York City subways have been a, and I guess the correct word would be a soft target. Like there have been like they're from that perspective, they've been very vulnerable for a very long time. The fortunate thing is that this hasn't happened, but it's like I've thought about it. I've been like if somebody just decided to just stand on a platform and just start, like they could just wreak so much havoc. Um, and so it's something you think you're aware of. You kind of like watch your surroundings. Um, but once it happens, now it's like now that it's it's out the box. It's out of um, Pandora's box is open, and so now the question is, how do you make sure this doesn't happen again? Um, that's that's going to be a really, because like after 9/11, there was police everywhere. There was police, full National Guard everywhere. Um, Gerard, I visited a friend in Bay Ridge in December. Got on the train after midnight. It was nonstop chaos until I got to Bowling Green. So a guy who was punch bleeding all over the seat. Yeah, I mean, but like there's a certain level of chaos in the subways that we like. Okay, it's New York. This is something different, right? So this is something that was always capable of happening, but like it was. I was like, okay, I'm just glad it hasn't happened. I'm glad nobody has taken it to that level. Now somebody has taken it to that level, and it's like this is a very bad thing, because I remember like I remember at some points when they would be, the cops at every, well, at a bunch of stations. The cops, it's very hard for cops to be at every station. There are so many there are so many subway stations, um, and even so, like it won't, like this, yeah, it's just the subway system is just so big that you know that this is a really, yeah, this is a really bad thing, a really bad situation. And to have, like, I mean, even if you have like the cops, National Guard, carrying, heavy duty weapons, it's, you can only sustain it for a certain amount of time. So I can expect that for the next, at least for the rest of the week, you'll see some heightened police presence. But the question is, how long can this be sustained? Um, and so that it's going to come down to getting down to the motives. And I guess that the most important part of getting down to the motives is in getting New Yorkers to feel some semblance of, okay, this guy had a bugged out motive. It's an isolated situation. It's something we don't have to worry about whether it's true or not. Like, but getting to that point um, is what a lot of people want are probably looking for right now. A lot of people want to get to the point where they they can explain it so that they can like, okay, well, at least I think we're good for now. Um, but with as chaotic as things are in this world, I we're not good. The just point blank period. Right now, the world is not good. We're in a the past 2 years have not really exposed. They've a lot of unrest has bubbled to the surface, and so there's sicknesses that basically a societal sickness that has existed, and the last 2 years just basically pulled the mask off. And what we're seeing here is a manifestation of a lot of unrest, a lot of chaos that has been existing in our society for a while. Past more like 5. Yeah, well, I'm speaking in specifically in reference to the pandemic. Really changed a lot. So while there was a lot of, I mean, yeah, there's definitely been the past 5 years. We've definitely seen things get worse. We've seen, but there was still like a barrier, something holding people back. The past 2 years has eliminated a lot of that, of of these boundaries that people basically self-imposed boundaries. And now people like are like, F it, just. But we're seeing more and more people willing to just say F everything and just do whatever. And yeah, it's with the political climate that we're in, things are going to go bad quickly, and I agree wholeheartedly. um yeah, it's yeah, it's things are. Oh yeah. In that case, you're right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, no, no. I know what you mean, though. But yeah, it's been getting worse. I definitely know what you mean. But yeah, like it's just we reached another level of despair. I guess you could say. Yeah, we reached another level of despair with what's happened. Over the past 2 years, and people really have, because like once people have like get to a point of they feel they have nothing to lose, everything's off the table. Like everything, any anything's on the table at that point. I should say anything's on the table. Anything goes, because once people feel I have nothing to lose, that's a bad place for people to be in, especially if they already have some kind of dysfunction or just a willingness to do whatever. Um, yeah, 2020. Yeah, things. Yeah, this definitely has felt a lot longer than 2 years, without a doubt. Um, and so, yeah, they're talking right now about the potential for more violence, which there definitely is, especially if the guy hasn't been caught yet. Um, in fact, yeah, let me. Um, 16 people. Okay, and what they're talking about now is the possibility of copycat attacks. Just like I'm saying, it's once this, like I said, once this happens, because like for years I've realized that this is the subways could be potential targets for something like this. Now that it's happened, there are people who may not have thought about that. Some deranged people who may not have thought about that, who may be like, okay, yeah, I like that. That is something that could be done, and that we could actually see copycat attacks. Remember, the beginning of 2020, it was nuclear war with North Korea, then COVID, then BLM, then the election, then yeah. It's just been it's like a snowball, snowball of chaos, and I hate that you have people like that are at the levels. There's a bunch of people that are just serving their own self interest, and instead of actually trying to put out fires, they're just like they're just thinking about how they can benefit themselves, while the world burns. There was a terror plot targeting downtown Brooklyn. Okay, I didn't know that. Wow, wow, which was foiled at the last minute. Yeah, I mean, and it's there's been, I'm no doubt that there's been attacks that have been foiled, and I know that this was definitely something that they were thinking about after 9/11. They were definitely worried about this after 9/11. They were definitely focused on what can we um, what can we do to 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 put some deterrence in place after 9/11. But at this point, yeah, yes, the subways have always been a soft target. Okay, yeah, you're right. The subways have always been a soft target. It's just too big. The subway system for like those of us here in New York know. For those of y'all who are watching who don't know New York City, New York City is just the New York City subways are just so. I mean, there's okay, like right where I'm at, I've got two separate subway stations on two separate lines, right, like within walking distance of me. So, and then each of those they're on separate train stations, separate lines, and then you go 5 blocks in either direction, and you'll have another subway station on each of these lines. This the amount of manpower you would need to cover every single subway station, um, all of the time, it's just like astronomical. Because like basically that would mean that that's all that would be watched. Like like if you had the entire police department, NYPD, New York City Transit Police, all of them out in force every day, that would mean like that would be all they could do. All they could watch is like there's not enough to be able to maintain every subway station um, at all times. I don't know. Maybe it would take just so much manpower. Like this is there's a reason why people are worried right now. There's a reason why people are scared, and I get it. Um, and so I can definitely realize why they want to hurry up and catch this guy, because they want to find out, even if he's not going to do anything else, they need to find out why he did it, and if he's connected to anybody else. Yeah, yeah. This was a very coordinated, very deliberate, very yeah. This was planned, and this was about causing causing damage. This was definitely about causing damage. I'm interested to find out how they know what the guy looks like, because he was I mean, yeah, I guess depending on the what type of gas mask. Yeah, well, yeah, if he's got the full gas mask on, um, I mean, there's got to be questions on how they determined what he looked like, and um, did he come through the? So that's an interesting thing. Coming with the gas mask, did he don the gas mask after getting into the subway station and right before he started the attack, or did he come into the subway station with the gas mask. Now, here's why I say that, because, and they're saying a gas mask. I, I, I'm wondering if it was like a full face mask, something that some people are wearing in relation to the pandemic. So, like, while that may look suspicious at certain other times during the pandemic, people could just think, "Oh, he's being extra safe. He's wearing, full face mask because he doesn't want to get sick. He doesn't. There's a new variant supposedly spreading around, and he wants to be protected." And people not give it a second thought. Whereas, before 2 years ago, before any time before these past 2 years, that would be people looking at him coming like that would be like, "What's up with that guy?" But yeah, if he's running around with the gas mask now with the full face mask, now people are gonna be like, he's um he's just being extra cautious. He's being extra safe. Wow, wow, that's and they're talking about gun violence, and this is not this is an attack. This isn't like, seriously, like, and the fact that there are unexploded devices, people, I mean, they really need to stop making this is different than your average everyday, gang violence, robbery or anything like this. This is a different type of event. So in the early goings, they're saying it looks like a lone wolf attack, and they're saying it's not being investigated as an act of terror. I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can look at it as anything else. But okay. Well, so since I'm gonna keep listening to the situation. I'm gonna probably just end the stream for now, and I might wind up going live again later on, just to talk about if there's significant new developments, and yeah, because this is a crazy case. Um, Definitely want to thank everyone for coming out to the stream, watching the stream, and stay safe out there for real. Absolutely.